Welcome to Kajabi Jukebox Training. Sue here from the Unicorn Advisory, and today this is a good one. We were looking at assessments, how to use an assessment as a quiz. Now, Kajabi's assessments are really good and they are really helpful, but they're a little bit limited when it comes to making a quiz, mainly because they are generally pretty grey and boring, and there isn't as much as you would like that you can customize. But there are some things that you can customize, and I am going to go through that. I'm going to show you how you can take a boring, ugly Kajabi quiz and make it look a whole lot better, like the one that you can see a little preview of on the screen. I'm also going to show you how you can actually segment that quiz and get really, really helpful information for your list, and how you can use the information that you gather through the quiz to segment your audience, which again, super helpful and will enable you to then put the people that go through the quiz into buckets for additional follow-up. Unfortunately, unlike Interact, which would be my first preference when it comes to making quizzes, you can't send people to a results page at the end. You just can send them to the, hey, you finished page. But, I'm showing you my best workaround for that. And whilst it's not perfect, it will save the hassle of getting another software program and integrating, because Interact does have to integrate through Zapier in order to get into Kajabi, unless you set up a whole extra lot of landing pages and you put them through the quiz and Interact, and then the results page takes them to a page in Kajabi, one different page for each result, and you get them to put their email address in there. So that's another way to get around it as well. But we're talking Kajabi today, so we're going to go through how to make your quiz look nice and pretty. So let's jump into the training. So quizzes in Kajabi, they are not quizzes, they are assessments. And you get to your assessments by going under the people area. So the first thing that you need to do is actually make your assessment. Now, I will be honest, this is a quiz that I kind of took very strong inspiration from an Interact quiz. So when you're doing a quiz, part of it is the technical setup, which I am going to show you here. But the other side of it is being really conscious of what information that you're trying to get and making sure that the quiz sounds appealing, that the actual quiz makes someone want to do it, and also that the questions are going to give you the information that you want. So I'm not going to go into the quiz strategy, but I'm going to show you how I've taken a quiz that I found on Interact, put it into Kajabi, and how we can get some information from it. So this page here is what is going to show up. What kind of blog will lead to your next big breakthrough. That's the title, and this is the description. So as you can see on here, this is going to come up in this section and this discover, and then I've just customized this here to say, instead of start now, take the quiz now. So you're just reaffirming that this is a quiz. This completed text, this is going to come up at the end. So I'll show you where this comes up. And this might be something, I've played around with this a little bit to make it look better, and kept these sentences nice and short, because especially if you're using a really wide block on the page, it's going to take the words pretty much out to the edges. And it can be, if you put too much information in there, it can be a little bit hard to read. Now for this automation, this is your overall quiz automation. So I've just added a tag, quiz, took the blog quiz. Whether you want to do that or not is up to you, but I think it's helpful to have that in there, because you'll see when we get to the section where someone puts their name and email in, that's not customizable at all, and it's not a form. So I think having the tag can be helpful. There's also other tags that I'll show you as we go through. So apart from that, when you are doing a quiz, make sure it's not automatically graded. And I always hide the assessment results breakdown. It would just look weird if their answers came up. I mean, you could play around with that. That's totally up to you. If you want to get a notification that someone has done it, so you can be like, yay, someone signed up to my list, don't forget to add your email in here. And I wouldn't send a completion email. I would actually do that through an email sequence, which I will show you in a second. Okay, so that's just the kind of, the starts screen and the overall quiz. So then when we go into edit questions, this is where we can get a little bit more information, and we're going to see some of the cool stuff. So one of the biggest complaints with Kajabi quizzes is they just look damn ugly. Like, they're gray, and there's not really anything that you can do to make them look pretty, except add an image. So what I have done here, when you traditionally add an image into your area in here, they take up the whole section. And I just hate images that where you've got to scroll to see the actual answers underneath. It can make people think that there's nothing there, and it's just a bit too much. So what I've done here is I have just gone into Canva. I have made 1920 by 300. You could potentially even go 200 if you wanted to make it even smaller, but 300 was kind of a good sweet spot I found when I played around with it. And I've just added in some grids. So you could do 3. This one is more for a general question where I've just kind of made some general, and then ones where there's 4 quite distinct options. Then I've gone and just pulled up like a grid with 4 images, and then just found images in Canva and added them in there and then exported them and then uploaded that as an image into Kajabi's assessment. So it makes it look so much better. Honestly, like the lack of color just makes it look boring, especially if you're using it as a quiz. And one of the things that you'll generally find with quizzes, and especially if you're using a tool like Interact, is they make it look so pretty, and you can have your brand colors, and it's just lovely. So whilst we can't have the images next to the answer, which would be amazing, at least we can sort of, give some color to that top area. So with this question now, some quizzes, like when you're using a tool like Interact, you can direct the answers. Like you've got a lot more control over how you get to the answers. But in Kajabi, we don't really have that capability to like add up the scores and if you've got this many between this and this, you're that, or anything like that cooler real quiz capability that you can do in Interact. But that's because Interact is a tool just meant for quizzes. What we're doing here is we're getting a Kajabi feature meant for student assessments, and we're seeing how we can work around to use it into a quiz. So some of the answers at some point you will see I have added tags. So I'll show you that as we get further through. But if you are just doing it to kind of make the quiz more fun, like this is a fun question because you want to mix up your information questions with fun questions. Now in this quiz originally, it was actually these questions were designed because the answers were, I can't remember. There was definitely a sport blogger and a food blogger and a travel blogger and a fashion blogger maybe. So, that's the reason for these questions. So you could have added the tag, but what I've chosen to do, and I haven't tested out what would happen if, say, these answers, we've got another question with the same 4 answers later. If you tagged them both, you certainly could, but I'll show you how I've done this further along. So which hashtag? This is a quiz where it's not based on the answer, because I actually made up new answers because I was half using this Interact example and half making answers up. But what I've done is I've added a tag called quiz interest. So this is scenarios for someone who helps bloggers, and we've got a different result. So the result could be fashion blog, and in that case, then I would put your quiz. Should have called that quiz outcome. That would have been clearer. So I've just called it quiz, and then I've just added this in as interest. So you might find that then you can create a segment of people who are ready to scale or ready for progress. So these were the 2 people who, like 2 answers that were most likely to potentially invest. And then you might have something that's specifically for food bloggers or sports bloggers, etc. So you can go through and use that information to really hone in and target very specific people in your audience. So you can get multiple answers through this and set up segments for quite specific things. So definitely bear that in mind. You can add different tags on different questions and, just kind of think the process through start to finish on what you want to find out from this quiz, and then how you can use that to segment your audience. So this is another one. I don't know if I didn't put tags in here. This was sort of, just another question that would be interest only, but, relevant to bloggers. And again, we've put the image in, but it wasn't, the specific to 4 separate things image. And then we've got our actual answer quiz. So I think this was the one where I put the answers. Yeah. So I've actually made this the results question. So 1 question for results, another question for interest. And this here, I've just gone through and, just based on different answers. This one is ready to scale. So someone's like, yep, I want to grow. So that could be, you're like, all right, I want to find the people in my audience who are busting to take the next step so they can really, make more money with their business and do well, as opposed to someone who's like, not really, I'm just kind of at the beginning stage. And that's really helpful, because if you are targeting people that are at the very beginning and they haven't really done anything yet, but they kind of want to, then maybe that's where you can then, write some specific emails to that section of your audience. So you can get really good information out of setting up a quiz like this. And like I said, whilst it's not as good or pretty as Interact, at least you can make it a little bit prettier, and it's all within Kajabi, which, that's pretty nice to be able to get those tags and information straight into Kajabi. One thing that is a little bit of a downfall with the interaction between Kajabi and Interact is you can't get these interest tags. You can only get the outcome. So we can get to the outcome, but you can't add the interest tags as well. So this one as well is an example of a question where I haven't put all of the answers with an interest tag, because I've gone, well, okay, someone's really struggling with self-doubt. Maybe you've got some good blog resources or a little workshop or something that's about, mindset for bloggers, or what to do to, overcoming self-doubt or something like that. So if you do have a program like that, or there's a reason that you want to segment them, and this one, you're like, yeah, someone's really interested in audience growth. These people are really interested in time and planning. And then this one, honestly, don't know, didn't tag them because I don't know what you would do with that. That is how you can use that information within your Kajabi quiz, adding these image blocks to make them look a whole lot prettier. And then I'll show you what we've done then to put it onto the page, because that's in the actual assessments. So that's adding the questions, putting them through. I've done these all as multiple choice questions. You could, if you wanted to, do them as the option where you can have more than one answer and then they'll have multiple tags. That's up to you whether you kind of want to get multiple tags on someone, or if you just want to really sort of hone them in and give them less options. So this is where we actually get the start page of your quiz, but there's nothing even on there to say, that it's a quiz. And that's where you can come to how you actually jazz it up on the page. So any assessment can be added to a page in Kajabi. So you can add it to any section of any page. So I've just made this example for you. So it's just the quiz is just on one page. So you could have an announcement bar on your homepage, or a button like, hey, you want to take the quiz? What kind of blog's going to lead to your next big breakthrough? Learn now. And then take them through to this landing page that's just a quiz page. And so you could just make it with one section. And to make it look a whole lot prettier than just an ugly gray block, what I've done here is I've just added a background, and I've just got a video off Canva, which is just a slightly moving gradient, just to make it a little bit more interesting. And when you add a really nice vibrant color in the background, it doesn't matter so much that the box in the middle is gray, because you can't change the background color of the assessment. It is gray and blah, but make it more vibrant by what's behind it. Then it won't matter so much. You can play around with other elements on the page. I'll show you a different way to set it out in a second. This, I've actually gone in and used a border around the outside to try and really separate it. You could make that bigger, all sorts of things to make it more aligned with your brand. But I definitely recommend using a color behind it, an image, a color, just something to make it kind of pop out of the page. And then I've just added, a nice big H1 heading, take the quiz to, again, make it really obvious. You could put an image in here, something, but I would recommend keeping it so that people don't have to scroll in order to take it. So to keep it in that above the fold area. So use emojis and make it more fun. Now, unfortunately, emojis do not show up in the quiz, which is a bit of a bummer, but alas. Another thing that you could do is put the quiz straight onto your homepage, just in a section on your homepage. So I've just done the same thing again, showing you how that would show up. So again, we've just got a section in it, and in that section, we've just got a text and assessment. So this one's a lot smaller. So I've kept this smaller, and then instead of having the heading above, like assume that this is on a homepage, there's a lot going on. So, you could just direct people, and you could even in this, although that might not work on mobile, look great on desktop. You could be like, hey, over there, take the quiz, or, a little arrow emoji or something like that to direct people to the quiz. Now with the quiz, when you are doing a smaller block, if it's going to catch up, will it catch up? I'm going to take that off for now because I've got this on mobile too. La, 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 la. See, we've got this box down here that isn't going to stay on the page. It will expand to the size of the quiz and the number of answers that you have. So I'll show you what this looks like on an actual page, because something to bear in mind is that I'm going to show you what happens when someone goes through the quiz, because that's a little bit imperfect, but you know, we can live with imperfect if it helps us actually achieve awesome things. So this is the quiz on the page. So we've got this version up here, which is, you know, nice and popping against this kind of funky multicolor background. So literally straight from Canva. I just made an image in Canva, 2880 by 1200. You can make it bigger or smaller if you want to. And then I just found this cool kind of gradient video, put it on, exported it, and I've made the background a video background. And then this one is just an image background. And again, it's just an image that I found. So this is a bit more subtle, but still, I think it's a lot nicer than just gray. Like whatever you do, just maybe don't have just a white background. Okay, so our quiz, we'll do this one. So you can see as I went into it, it made it bigger. So you don't want someone to have to scroll up and down. So that's helpful. So here you can see the images, you know, it's taking up enough space so that it looks pretty, but it's not, you know, getting away from here. So we're just going to randomly just go through. I'll just pick some random. No, totally travel. Totally travel. Oh yeah, totally full-time gig. I love this job. And beer all the time. Craft beer. Thank you very much. Now, when someone gets to the end, this is the page that is going to come up. And unfortunately, you cannot customize it, which is so frustrating. You know, in Interact, when you're using Interact with this page, you can actually have the page and have put some extra text on there to, you know, go, oh, you know, you're almost there. And you can also give them the option to skip and all those kinds of things. All we've got here is add your name and subscribe to the email list. So not quite as cool, but you know, what do you do? And subscribe to the list and submit, and we'll go through, and then that's where we're going to hit our end screen. So end screen has got the answers on there. So this is where I was saying, you know, I split these into two lines back in the other example. We'll go back to it so that you can see, just to make it look better. And I've just added this in because I have a thing about always having a call to action on any kind of thank you page or giving someone the next step to do, so they don't just kind of go, oh, I mean, I know they're going to look out in their email, but will they go to their email that exact second? Possibly not. So yeah, so we'll go through and you know, then get the answers if you've set them up. So my next step is I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, something to bear in mind, and I actually just ended up on chat today with Kajabi. It does say in the help documentation for Kajabi that the button color is going to be the primary color of your page or your product, but apparently it doesn't work on pages, just products. So if you use an assessment within your product, it's going to pick up the primary color of your product. But if you're using it on a page, you're stuck with Kajabi blue. So that's why I'm like, brand everything around the assessment. You know, this is where you can add logos or you know, fun stuff to it. But the only thing I would suggest is that, you know, you can put some sections, like say this was a section, you can certainly put stuff underneath it, but just make sure the actual quiz is within that. You're not having to scroll to get to the quiz. So say this was the quiz and we had some images and stuff here, I wouldn't have it so it's kind of half there. I'd make it so as soon as someone goes to the page, they just see it straight away. All right, so we're just going to go back into the actual assessment just so I can show you that end screen again. So I've made, the reason that one came up green is because I made it bold. So bold equals green. And to add a link, it's just the same way that you would normally add a link. Now, what do we do about the tags that we have added? We need to find a way to give people the next steps, because normally in a quiz you will have results page and you know, you have an email sequence goes out. So the results page is probably not critical. It's it's really good to have, but it's not critical. You could put that into a PDF and into the first email that you send out. If you do want to send someone to a page, then you can make an individual landing page for each result and, direct people to other helpful resources depending on what's happening. And, you might have a specific goal that you want to find everyone in your audience who is ready to take action and meets another criteria that you put throughout your quiz. And then those people potentially you could put into a special sequence after they get their quiz results. That's where I'm not going to go into quiz strategy. I'm just going to, cover off the things that are more relevant around the actual technical side. But yeah, you can create segments around lots of different things, like multiple points. But one thing that I always would be suggesting is that you set up an automation so that your tag for the result then adds them to the sequence, the email sequence, so that you've just said, check your email for your results. So the minimum that I would suggest that you do is send out at least one email, if not a few more, to get them onto the right email for that particular. You want to make sure that they're going to get the right email sequence, which means you need to make the email sequences first. So we are going to set up an email sequence. We could do it as a send an email. So that is an option. So if you want doing one, you could just make it send an email, but we're going to do an email sequence and we're going to call it quiz ready for action. So you would make one for each of your results. So I'll just make literally one sequence so you can see how we do it. And then you will set up an automation so that when they have that tag, the tag's going to come from them answering that in the quiz. Then they will be added to the sequence. Quiz action. So the thing about quizzes is they're really, really cool, but they are most impactful if you have a really clear goal for what you're trying to achieve and you take steps based on the information that you get out of them. It's great to get people on your list, but it's even better if you get people on your list and then you segment your promotions to those people. So we'll just say, yes, blogging friend, you're ready for blogging starting. I don't know, I'm making this up. This is where Tracy, our BU copywriter, would be like, she would be helping me a lot. She's actually a quiz specialist as well. So she helps people create their quizzes and does like a VIP audit day where she'll actually work through with you on all the steps that you got to do for a quiz. But I'm just doing the simple version. So she's the quiz strategist. I'm the quiz technical setter up person. All right. So, we don't really need to change this. This is where you would be like, yeah, awesome. This is your answer. And then if you did have a landing page that had information on it, you could read more, and then you could send them, 2 or 3 emails that go out over the next few days specific to their result answer. Okay. So let's pretend this is our ready for action. So we've got the segment. Okay, so what we want to do is we'll save this. And the really cool thing is if you do one and you set it up and you make it look all pretty, then, because Kajabi's got a cool new feature, you can save that as a template so that when you're doing the others, you don't need to set everything else up from scratch. You can just change the words. So definitely helpful. Okay, so we're going to go into automations now. So when you set up the quiz, it's just important to remember for your interest tags, you may not want to do anything with them yet. You might just want to kind of hold on to that information for future. That's why, really kind of mapping out what you're trying to achieve will really, really help you. So what we're going to do is, so we've added the tag for took the quiz. So we know if you go into a person, you can be like, oh, cool, they took the quiz. And also, if you don't see any tags, you'll know they didn't complete the quiz. Actually, no, they won't even get the tags. They won't get any of that if they don't complete it because they have to put their name in. But anyway, you'll know. So I'm going to do a new automation. So this automation has to be done under automations. Almost all of the other automations in Kajabi, you do it kind of in the place where you're at. But this one, this where you're adding a tag in based on the answer in the quiz, that has to be done under automations. So the automation is when a tag is added. So you're saying to Kajabi, when a tag is added, and that tag is quiz. Ooh, I think it was ready to scale. This is where having your thing mapped out fully is really, really helpful. And knowing what the answers are before you make the quiz. That is so critical. All right, so when the tag is added, ready to scale, so that's our answer, then we want to subscribe to an email sequence. And we want to pick our quiz email sequence, ready for action. So obviously I've said action and scale, but it's the same thing. So we're adding the automation. So when this tag is added, which they do in the process of going through the quiz, we'll then subscribe them to the email sequence. So they've just signed up and got a message saying, look out in your email for the results. That is then going to make that happen for them because we've just added that automation. So pretty cool. So someone can go through on your page, they'll do this quiz that looks very, very pretty. They'll get to the end, they'll get their results, they will go into your people area. And if you have set up this automation and you have done your tags in the actual assessment itself on the answers. So you can only add tags to the quiz as a whole, which is where I'm just like, all right, well, I'm adding a tag to the quiz. Or you can add tags to the individual answers based on which answer that they choose. So hope you enjoyed, and I hope it's given you some great ideas, and anyone else who is wanting to use a quiz without having to go through the integration with Interact. Like I said, I do love Interact, and I think it can make your quizzes look really cool, and you can add more images and customize your branding and all that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, what you want is information, and this is going to help you to do it. Fingers crossed at some point Kajabi's assessments will be improved and we can change it so it's not ugly gray and Kajabi blue for the buttons. Maybe even actually be able to customize that screen where someone puts their details in. That would be amazing. But for now, you know, it's totally usable if you want to be a Kajabi purist. Have a beautiful day or night, wherever you are. And if you've got a tutorial you'd like, let me know in the comments and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.